Today I'm inspired to do a series of videos. It occurred to me as I was walking that, well, the Vedic culture talks about 5 elements. We're made up of these 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, and space. And I was thinking about global warming and what might that have to do with these elements. The elements are hugely disturbed, whether it is the air element through the forest fires we are seeing, the earth element with the volcanoes and earthquakes, the fire element with fires raging, winds blowing, water tsunamis, etc. So I realized that these elements can also be toxified. It can become toxic. Just like our body becomes toxic, the elements can also become toxic. So in order to, let's take the earth element. The earth element will become toxic. The soil will become toxic with pollution, with excessive use of pesticides, with not rotating the crops so that the right bacteria and microorganisms can live in the soil to create an ecosystem that would support variety of vegetation. The microorganisms are very clever. So the place where there would be, I notice in my garden, there's not enough sunlight, different microorganisms live there, creating an ecosystem for different types of plants, as opposed to the part of the garden that's sun-facing. The microorganisms that live there support different trees. Now, if that ecosystem is imbalanced because we've toxified it with the use of not enough aeration, the use of pesticides, as I said, not allowing microorganisms to thrive in it in a natural way, then that's going to cause a toxicity of the earth element. Now, if you look at the next element up, water also gets toxified with stagnation, with not enough air, with not enough movement. Water needs to move, okay? So again, water element will become toxified with lack of movement. It is through the rippling of the waterfalls and the running of the water that it becomes healthy to drink, and it becomes detoxified that way. Now, the air element goes without saying. If you don't have air moving in the right way and being subjected to sunlight in the right way, that if it becomes very fierce, then it's going to pick up toxins, such as the microorganisms of pandemics, and then spread that around through the air element. So the air element needs to be pacified and kept at a balance. The fire element is the only next element that we can see before it becomes even more subtle. So it's an energy that we can still see. It's between dense and subtle. And fire can also be toxified. Now, I draw from the Vedic culture of Ramayana here, which really, it was the click I felt I received this morning in my walk. Rama and Lakshmana are trying to do a yagna. Yagna is a fire ritual, and through that fire ritual, we're able to cleanse the elements and ask for things, ask for powers. of the universe. Vishwamitra was trying to do this incredible yagna so that he can pacify what was at that time of that yuga equivalent to our situation today, where the elements are very, very agitated. Now, Ravana was a very clever man, wealthy, made wealthy by all the wrong deeds, I suppose, a sort of an Asuric culture. And he didn't want this yagna to go on because he knew that that would manifest power for Rama, and he wanted to keep the power for himself. And he kept sending his people to come and put meat in the fire, the yagna. If meat is put in the fire, it creates the kind of energy that will become toxic for the environment. So what I learned from that little click this morning is that cosmology shows us that meat is, when sent up in the air, in the elements, it actually toxifies the energy of the space element. Space is the subtlest element, where I guess we're all connected in oneness, and that becomes polluted through the use of meat on fire. That brought me to the concept of, you know, all the barbecues and all the meat eating that goes on, and what an effect it's having on global warming. People are not still waking up to this reality. And in Ramayana, Lakshmana and Rama had to protect the fire ritual of Vishwamitra by sending away the bodies that were trying to throw meat in the fire, so that the yagna can proceed for powers to be manifested, so that the elements could be calmed. So the space element is a really incredible element that is worthy of its own kind of video. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about how these elements get toxified, and what are the process of detoxification of elements is also given in the Vedic culture. And I would like to talk about these elements one at a time in future videos. But suffice to say, I wanted to capture the click that I had during this walk this morning, so that we can proceed with this thinking and think what our responsibility is in terms of global warming. And maybe we need to dwell deeper into the Vedic culture to see exactly what the meaning was of the great truths that were revealed in the epics. And I'm going to leave you with that this morning, and we'll discuss it further as we move along. Thank you for listening.